The galaxy called it Graveyard Earth. A blue planet with violent weather, unstable tectonics, and a gravity well that crushed most species. Its star flared often. Its moon pulled oceans into constant chaos. Life there should have been weak, slow, and temporary. That was the official belief of the Concord of Advanced Species, the ruling council of the known galaxy. So when long-range probes detected radio noise, nuclear scars, and orbital structures around Earth, the Concord laughed. They survived by accident, said High Observer Carathale, a tall insectoid with crystal eyes. Primitive, divided, and loud. They will erase themselves. But curiosity still ruled politics. The Concord sent a single diplomatic ship, the Radiant Claw, to Earth. Not an invasion. Not a threat. Just a test. The ship arrived above Earth like a second moon. Every human government panicked. Satellites failed. Power grids flickered. The sky bent around alien gravity drives. For 3 days the ship waited in silence. Then it spoke. A voice echoed across every frequency, translated instantly. Dominant species of planet Sol 3. You are observed. You are measured. You are found improbable. In Geneva, leaders gathered in a reinforced chamber beneath the Alps. General Elias Carter, commander of Earth's Unified Defense Initiative, listened quietly. They're testing reactions, he said. Not strength. A scientist whispered, Sir, their ship mass alone is beyond anything we can damage. Carter nodded. Then we don't try to damage it. Instead, humanity answered with mathematics. They transmitted proof of quantum theories, artificial intelligence logic trees, and predicted stellar movement models that corrected Concord science by small but precise margins. The alien ship paused. For the first time in 3,000 cycles, the Radiant Claw did not respond immediately. Inside the vessel, alien analysts argued. These equations are elegant, one said. Impossible, another hissed. They are pre-FTL. Carathale watched the data streams grow. These humans, he said slowly, are thinking forward while trapped in a cage of gravity. Earth did not fire a weapon. Earth did not beg. Earth proved it could think. Part 2, Laughter turns to concern. The Concord's first report labeled humans as cognitively aberrant. That was not praise. It meant dangerous potential. Still, politics demanded escalation. The Velker Dominion, a reptilian empire built on conquest, requested permission to stabilize Earth. The Concord allowed it. A Velker fleet of 12 warships entered Sol. They broadcast one message. Kneel or be harvested. Earth answered with silence. Then the sun flickered. Human scientists had fired a controlled solar resonance pulse, harmless but precise, to show capability. The Velker ships panicked. Their shields overloaded. 2 vessels drifted powerless. The Velker commander roared in disbelief. They touched the star. Humanity then spoke. This is a warning, General Carter said calmly. We are not prey. The Velker retreated. The galaxy watched. And fear began. Part 3, The Politics of Panic. In the Concord chambers, chaos erupted. They weaponized stars. They are unstable. They are divided. Imagine if united. Carathale raised his claws. Silence. Humans are not monsters. They are adaptive predators. A vote was called. Contain Earth. Restrict trade. No technology sharing. Humans noticed immediately. Alien borders closed. Probes vanished. Trade routes avoided Sol. So humanity adapted again. They built self-learning fleets, AI admirals, and modular ships that could be rebuilt mid-battle. They did not copy alien technology. They improved it. Part 4, The War That Should Have Ended Humanity. The Velker returned. This time with allies. 200 ships. Planet-killer weapons. Absolute confidence. Earth's defenses looked small. The galaxy expected extinction. Instead, humans rewrote warfare. They used misinformation, fake signals, decoy fleets, and gravity traps hidden inside asteroid belts. When the battle began, it was chaos. Human ships moved unpredictably. They sacrificed units to expose weaknesses. They adapted in real time. Alien commanders screamed as their perfect strategies collapsed. One Velker general shouted, "They are improvising mid-battle." Earth's fleet commander smiled. That's called learning. The Velker armada was destroyed. The impossible planet had won. Part 5, The Truth Revealed. Captured alien data revealed something terrifying. The Concord had planned to eventually sterilize Earth. Too risky. Too unpredictable. Humanity responded not with rage but unity. For the first time in history, Earth formed a single planetary government. Their message to the galaxy was simple. We know your plan. Try again and we won't stop at defense. The Concord realized too late. They had created their own apex rival. Part 6. The Fall of the Concord. Human fleets appeared across Concord space simultaneously. Not invasions. Demonstrations. Human ships disabled stations without killing crews. They exposed corruption. They revealed secret genocides hidden for millennia. Rebellions erupted. The Concord fractured. Karathale watched the council fall apart. They outgrew us, he whispered. Part 7. The Apex Species. Years later, Earth stood at the center of a new alliance. Not an empire. A balance. Alien ambassadors walked carefully in human halls. Karathale met General Carter one last time. You were impossible, the alien said. Carter smiled. No, he replied. We were inevitable. Above Earth, human and alien ships flew together. The galaxy had learned its final lesson. Never underestimate a species born on an impossible world. The Concord of advanced species did not panic easily. It had ruled the galaxy for over 3,000 standard cycles. Empires rose, burned, and vanished beneath its careful balance of fear and favor. So when the first reports about Earth arrived, most council members reacted with amusement. A blue world. Violent storms. Internal wars. Primitive chemical rockets and crude nuclear scars. Barely civilized, scoffed Counselor Threx of the Silicate Union, his crystalline body glowing faintly. They fight each other more than their environment. They should already be extinct, added Matron Velshera, her many eyes blinking in slow disdain. Any species born under such gravity and radiation should be slow, fragile, and obedient. High Observer Karathale did not laugh. He replayed the human transmission again. The equations. The corrections to Concord astrophysics. The subtle prediction of a star's microflare, verified moments later by Concord sensors. They are not strong, Karathale said. Yet. The word unsettled the chamber. The Concord classified humanity as Tier 0 developing, but with an unusual red mark beside the label. Cognitively aberrant. It meant humans thought sideways. They did not follow expected evolutionary paths. They compensated for weakness with invention. Still, the council believed fear would solve the problem. Fear always worked. So they approved a limited stabilization action. The Velker Dominion volunteered eagerly. The Velker were ancient conquerors, reptilian giants armored in bone and steel, their culture built on the belief that dominance was proof of worth. They had crushed dozens of worlds into obedient resource colonies. Earth would be easy. When Velker ships entered the Sol system, they did not hide. 12 massive war vessels slid out of hyperspace, their hulls etched with conquest symbols. Planetary sensors screamed warnings. Civilian broadcasts cut to static. Human cities stared upward in terror as alien shapes eclipsed the stars. Inside the flagship Blood of Dominion, Supreme Commander Grax Vol watched Earth rotate beneath him. So small, he growled. So loud. They pollute their own orbit with debris. His tactical officer hissed. Orders, Supreme Commander? Grax opened all channels. Creatures of Sol 3, his voice thundered across Earth, translated into every human language. You exist because we allow it. Kneel now. Surrender your skies, your seas, and your future. Resistance will be harvested. The message echoed through command bunkers, city streets, and homes. Panic surged. But something strange followed. Silence. No response. No surrender. No desperate threats. Just quiet. Grax narrowed his slit-pupiled eyes. They tremble, he said confidently. Prepare intimidation display. Velker ships powered weapons, not firing just enough to show what awaited Earth. Then the sun flickered. Human scientists at solar observation arrays had calculated the exact resonance frequency of Sol's outer plasma layer. Using synchronized orbital platforms, they released a controlled pulse, barely a whisper by stellar standards. But it was enough. Velker sensors went mad. Supreme Commander, an officer shrieked. The star, its output just shifted. Shields destabilizing. 2 Velker ships lost power instantly, drifting helplessly as their systems overloaded, trying to compensate for the unexpected stellar fluctuation. Grax slammed his claws into the command throne. They touched the star, he snarled. That is impossible. They are pre-FTL primitives. A new signal cut through the chaos. Human. Come. Measured. Unemotional. General Elias Carter appeared on Velker screens, standing in a simple command uniform. Velker Dominion, Carter said evenly. You are trespassing. This was a demonstration, not an attack. Grax bared his teeth. You dare threaten us with tricks? Carter tilted his head slightly. That wasn't a threat, he replied. It was a warning. Human defense platforms powered up across Earth's orbit, not advanced by Concord standards, but arranged with terrifying precision. Missiles did not lock onto ships. They locked onto vectors, predicting future positions before Velker AI could adapt. Grax felt something unfamiliar tighten his chest. Fear. Withdraw, one of his advisors whispered urgently. Supreme Commander, these humans are reading our movements. Grax hesitated. Velker doctrine demanded dominance. But extinction demanded wisdom. Retreat, he growled at last. For now. The Velker fleet jumped away, leaving behind drifting wrecks and shattered pride. Across the galaxy, observers stared in stunned silence. A Tier 0 world had forced a Velker retreat, without firing a single weapon. On the Concord capital world, alarms rang as emergency council sessions were called. They manipulated a star. They predicted Velker tactics. They did not pursue. Karathale stood slowly. Humans are not aggressive by default, he said. They are reactive. That makes them more dangerous. For the first time in centuries, the Concord felt something it had long forgotten. Concern. And on Earth, as the skies cleared, General Carter looked at his officers. That was step one, he said quietly. Next time, he added, they won't underestimate us. The galaxy had laughed at humanity. It would not laugh again. The Concord of advanced species had survived because it controlled fear. Fear of invasion. Fear of isolation. Fear of extinction. Now that fear had a name. Humanity. The emergency convocation chamber on Aurelian Prime filled with representatives from 100 species. Gravity fields shifted constantly to accommodate incompatible bodies. The air shimmered with translation fields and suppressed aggression pheromones. Even so, tension pressed like a physical weight. High Observer Karathale stood at the center platform, his faceted eyes reflecting thousands of data streams. The Velker Dominion was forced to retreat, he announced. No losses inflicted by weapons. Only by prediction. The chamber erupted. Impossible. The Velker exaggerate to hide shame. A Tier 0 species cannot counter stellar manipulation. Karathale raised a claw. A projection filled the air. Battle telemetry, human calculations, timestamp predictions made before Velker maneuvers occurred. Silence followed. Counselor Threx of the Silicate Union pulsed with erratic light. They think faster than our models, Threx said. That alone makes them unstable. Or brilliant, countered Ambassador Liera of the Avian Clades. They showed restraint. They could have crippled the Velker fleet completely. Restraint. That word unsettled the Concord more than aggression ever had. Aggression was predictable. Restraint meant choice. Behind closed resonance shields, political factions formed within hours. The containment block demanded immediate quarantine of soul, cut trade, restrict travel, isolate humanity until it either stagnated or destroyed itself. The exploitation block argued humans should be subtly guided, their creativity harvested under supervision. The preemptive block whispered a third option. Erase them. Karathale listened to all, saying little. He requested one thing, deeper observation. The Concord approved, reluctantly. Humanity felt the shift within weeks. Alien probes vanished from neutral zones. Trade drones rerouted away from Sol. Automated warnings declared Earth a restricted development world. In Geneva, the Unified Defense Council studied the data. They're boxing us in, said Dr. Hannah Varma, chief xenopolitical analyst. Soft containment. General Carter folded his arms. They expected us to react emotionally, he said. We won't. Instead of protesting, Earth adapted. Human engineers accelerated projects that had once taken decades. Modular shipyards grew in orbit, assembling vessels that could be redesigned mid-construction. Artificial intelligences were not given full autonomy, but paired with human commanders, creating hybrid decision systems no alien doctrine accounted for. Humans studied alien battle records obsessively. Not to copy. To understand habits. Within the Concord, surveillance reports grew disturbing. Human fleets practiced chaotic formations. Command hierarchies changed daily. Doctrine evolved between exercises. Why do they keep rewriting their own rules? Demanded Matron Velshera. Karathale answered quietly, because they assume the enemy is watching. That thought spread unease through the chamber. The first true test came from within the Concord itself. The Alari Collective, a hive-minded species dependent on Concord trade routes, faced economic collapse due to Sol's containment. Their leaders accused the council of overreach. Protests turned to riots. Riots turned to secession. The Concord dispatched peacekeeping forces. Humanity noticed. Instead of intervening openly, humans leaked classified Concord communications, evidence of decades of manipulation and selective genocide, onto neutral networks. The galaxy erupted. Species long obedient began to question. Who gave them this information? Demanded Threx. K'Arthale already knew. They did not steal it, he said. We left patterns. Humans followed them. On Earth, Carter met with civilian leaders. We didn't fire a shot, one said. And they're tearing themselves apart. Carter nodded grimly. Information is a weapon, he replied. And we've been training with it for centuries. A young officer asked, Sir, are we provoking a war? Carter looked at Earth turning slowly beneath the station windows. No, he said. We're proving we can survive one. Within months, alien delegations began arriving quietly at Sol, species the Concord had marginalized for generations. They came seeking knowledge, protection, alliance. Human diplomats did not promise domination. They promised choice. That terrified the Concord more than any fleet ever could. High Observer K'Arthale watched the political map fracture, lines of loyalty dissolving. For the first time, he murmured to himself, we face a species that does not want our throne. His aide clicked nervously. Then why are they winning? K'Arthale's eyes dimmed. Because, he said slowly, they are teaching the galaxy how to live without us. And that realization, more than any weapon, marked the beginning of the Concord's end. Far away, human shipyards burned bright against the dark. Earth was no longer an impossible world. It was a center of gravity. And the galaxy was already falling toward it. The Velker returned. This time they came not as scouts or threats, but as a full-scale armada. 200 warships carved through hyperspace, hulls gleaming like predatory obsidian, weapons calibrated to annihilate continents. Planet-killer beams, antimatter torpedoes, gravity mines, they carried every tool of mass destruction their species had perfected over millennia. The galaxy watched. Expectation was universal. Earth would be crushed. On the surface, humans were ready. Not in panic. Not in desperation. In calculated anticipation. General Elias Carter surveyed the orbital map aboard the Earth Defense Station, orbiting just above the Moon's far side. Screens shimmered with velocities, mass, and predicted trajectories of each alien vessel. 200 ships, murmured Admiral Mei Lin, his AI-assisted aide. They outgun us 10-1. Carter nodded. Numbers mean nothing if we control the battlefield. Prepare the decoy fleets. On Earth, civilian and military engineers had worked tirelessly for months. Asteroid belts were subtly shifted to create gravity traps, satellites retrofitted with kinetic disruptors, orbital platforms armed with predictive targeting AI. Even the sun, that volatile furnace that had once warned the Velker away, was now a strategic asset. They think they're attacking a planet, Carter said quietly. They're attacking a chessboard we built to trap them. The first shots were fired, but they were deceptions. Velker sensors detected a human fleet moving toward their formation. Excitement rippled through the armada. Strike. Destroy them before they can regroup. The fleet advanced, and fell straight into the gravity snares humans had set within the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Ships miscalculated vectors, collided, or became trapped by microgravity distortions. 2 vessels spun out of control, alarms screaming. The Velker AI predicted chaos, but humans had anticipated the AI's calculations. The next wave of orbital defenses mimicked surrender, luring dozens of Velker ships into crossfire zones where kinetic disruptors tore through hulls with surgical precision. It was during the main engagement that the galaxy truly saw humanity's genius. Human ships moved like living organisms. Every maneuver was unpredictable yet purposeful. Vessels sacrificed themselves intentionally, drawing fire to expose weaknesses. Command hierarchies were deliberately scrambled to create the illusion of chaos, but every step was coordinated by AI-assisted human admirals capable of predicting alien decisions before they were made. The Velker commander, Supreme Commander Grax Vol, bellowed across the fleet, his voice vibrating the corridors of the flagship. They are improvising mid-battle. How can they adapt so fast? An officer, trembling, replied, they are learning from us as we act. Grax's claws slammed against the console. This is not warfare. This is madness. Carter, back on the station orbiting Earth, watched Grax's fleet unravel. He leaned over to Admiral Mei Lin. "They thought numbers were the answer," he said calmly. "We're proving adaptability is." On distant observation satellites, alien species recorded the battle in awe and horror. "This is a Tier 0 world?" whispered a Valerian diplomat. "They are thinking faster than fleets designed by the Concorde itself." "They are teaching the galaxy a new rule," said another observer. "Do not underestimate instinct combined with intelligence." By the battle's end, the Velker fleet lay in tatters. Only fragments remained functional. The survivors withdrew silently, nursing humiliation and wounded pride. But the battle did not end there. Earth did not pursue. Humans did not celebrate beyond quiet acknowledgement. They understood the lesson. Victory was not final, but it was proof. Proof of resilience, of innovation, of a species that thrived against impossible odds. Across the galaxy, the implications spread faster than light. Species that had once dismissed humans as fragile, unremarkable, or expendable began reassessing their policies. Trade alliances shifted subtly. Mercenary fleets abandoned contracts with Velker governors. Even the Concorde began to whisper quietly behind closed doors, afraid that their impossible world was becoming a central gravitational force in galactic politics. Yet Carter knew this was only the beginning. "The galaxy will respond," he said to his officers. "Some will try diplomacy. Some will try war. But we've proven something vital today. Survival is not about strength, it's about adaptation, foresight, and unity." A young lieutenant asked nervously, "Sir, do you think the Velker will ever forgive us?" Carter's eyes, reflecting Earth's oceans and continents below, were calm but resolute. "Forgive?" he said. "No. And they shouldn't. But if they understand us, maybe they'll respect us." Above Earth, orbital platforms glimmered in silent vigilance. On the surface, humanity continued its work. Ships, defenses, AI development, all preparing for the day the galaxy finally realized that this so-called primitive world could not be controlled, only respected. And somewhere in the distance, the shattered Velker fleet limped home, carrying a truth their commanders had refused to acknowledge. The humans of Sol 3 were no longer prey. They were predators in a different sense, apex predators of intellect, strategy, and adaptation. The war that should have ended humanity had, in fact, revealed the galaxy's first truly unpredictable and unstoppable species. The Velker retreat had sent shockwaves across the galaxy, but the Concorde's leaders were not ready to concede. They believed humanity's display was a fluke, a combination of luck, unusual planetary conditions, and unpredictable instinct. They were wrong. Back on Earth, General Elias Carter convened a council meeting with leaders from every major continent, including representatives from former rival nations. For the first time, humanity acted as one unified planetary force. "Step 1, Carter said, pointing to a holographic display of Velker wrecks and orbital battle maps, was survival. Step 2 is understanding the galaxy's intentions toward us. And Step 3, his gaze swept across the room, Step 3 is turning fear into leverage." Dr. Hannah Varma, head of Xenopolitical Strategy, leaned forward. "Sir, the Concorde's communications, classified treaties, secret genocides, and manipulation files, they exist. If we expose them..." Carter nodded. "We won't just expose them. We'll make sure the galaxy sees them clearly. Nothing hidden. Truth will be our weapon." And humanity acted. Weeks later, data streams once confined to Concorde networks leaked into neutral zones. Ships orbiting fringe planets intercepted communications showing centuries of manipulation. Species intentionally starved, worlds destabilized, colonies abandoned, and secret alliances forged to suppress emerging intelligent species. For the first time, the galaxy saw the Concorde not as rulers but as predators. The reaction was immediate. Some species celebrated. Long-oppressed worlds sent envoys to Sol, seeking alliance and protection. Others panicked, recalling that the Concorde had plans to contain or even sterilize them if they ever became inconvenient. Riots and rebellions erupted across multiple star systems. Even the Velker, licking wounds from their failed assault, paused in uncertainty. Their command questioned whether domination was even possible anymore. In the Concorde Council chambers, chaos reigned. Counselor Threx's crystalline facets flickered with panic. They revealed us. They weaponized transparency." Matron Velshera hissed, "This is an affront to millennia of order. Do we strike back?" Kerarthale, standing silent amid the chaos, observed the fracture lines appearing between member species. "Strike back?" he murmured. "They are not striking. They are teaching. Look around. Observe how quickly alliances crumble. Humanity does not destroy, they expose weakness and the galaxy does the rest. The realization hit every council member differently. They had underestimated adaptive intelligence. They had dismissed unity born of necessity. They had ignored the potential for strategy to outweigh brute force. Meanwhile, Carter oversaw a new initiative, the Universal Observation Network. It was not a fleet, though it included thousands of human-built starships. It was a galactic web of surveillance, communication, and diplomacy. Every species, every council chamber, and every fleet could be observed, not invaded, not destroyed, but learned from. They will make mistakes, Carter said to Admiral Mei Lin. We will anticipate them. We do not need to fight them, unless we choose to. Hannah Varma added, Sir. The Concord is no longer in control. The galaxy is watching humanity. They respect fear now, but more importantly, they respect capability. Carter nodded. Exactly. Humanity's goal is not domination. Our goal is existence and influence. If the Concord refuses to change, they will fall by their own inaction. The Concord tried one last gambit. A fleet of observation and enforcement vessels was sent toward Earth, ostensibly to negotiate. In reality, they hoped to intimidate or provoke humans into firing first. Carter's response was subtle. A single fleet entered the observation zone, but instead of weapons deployment, human diplomats broadcast an invitation to dialogue, open and unprotected. Simultaneously, small AI-guided probe ships recorded every moment, mapping every vessel, shield, and weapon system. The Concord ships realized too late that every move was predicted. Every plan they had, every stratagem had already been accounted for. And the diplomatic meeting ended with a simple human message. We know your plan. We know your fears. Humanity is not your enemy, but we will defend our future. The Concord could not argue. They could not strike. And they could not retreat without showing weakness. Across the galaxy, the truth sank in. The species that had long claimed to be apex were not invincible. The species that had once laughed at Earth had been humbled not by brute force, but by strategy, unity, and foresight. On Earth, Carter addressed the Planetary Council. The galaxy has learned one thing today, he said, voice steady, eyes resolute. Never assume a species born in adversity will remain weak. We have survived the impossible and we have revealed the truth. From this point on, humanity will be seen, not as prey, not as curiosity, but as a force to be reckoned with. The room erupted in quiet, determined applause. And somewhere beyond the Sol system, the Concord convened in silence. They had underestimated humans. The galaxy had underestimated humans. And for the first time in recorded history, a planetary species was poised to reshape the balance of power across the stars. Earth had proven that the impossible was not just possible, it was inevitable. The Concord had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 cycles, a web of influence, secrecy, and intimidation. They had survived uprisings, rebellions, and even open wars. But now, a species born on a blue planet with violent storms and crushing gravity had rewritten the rules. Humanity did not attack the Concord outright. They did not need to. Humans understood a fundamental truth the Concord had long ignored. Information is more powerful than firepower. It began with small demonstrations. Observation fleets, not enormous armadas, just human and hybrid AI ships, appeared suddenly across border systems. They were unarmed, yet they projected immense presence. Concord outposts reported seeing ships appear in multiple sectors simultaneously, moving in patterns so complex that even the most advanced Concord AI could not predict them. In secret transmissions, human diplomats began revealing corruption, secret alliances, and hidden atrocities. Data was curated, undeniable, and devastating. Systems long loyal to the Concord began reconsidering their allegiance. Species oppressed for generations quietly reached out to humanity, offering intelligence and resources. High Observer Kerarthale watched as the council convened in panic. They are not fighting us conventionally, hissed Matron Velshera. They're destabilizing everything, our trade networks, our reputations, our alliances. They are doing what we never imagined, Kerarthale replied. They are fracturing the Concord without firing a single shot. Their power lies in adaptation, perception, and foresight. Counselor Threx of the Silicate Union's crystalline facets pulsed erratically. Our fleets cannot compete. We cannot predict them. And every species we controlled doubts us. The fractures were inevitable. The Concord's bureaucratic empire, once rigid and unyielding, collapsed from the inside out. Across multiple star systems, uprisings erupted. The Alari Collective, a hive mind species previously bound to Concord trade, seized control of key hyperspace lanes. The avian clades abandoned their treaties, refusing to supply Concord warships with fuel and munitions. Even Velker governors hesitated, unsure whether to obey orders from a council that had lost credibility overnight. Everywhere human-led intelligence had predicted these responses. Humans moved strategically, offering guidance, resources, and reassurance, but never command. The message was clear: choose autonomy or be left behind. The Concord tried to respond with force. A task force of their finest warships entered human-controlled space, intending to intimidate. They arrived in the orbit of a newly constructed human station at the edge of former Concord territory. Human forces did not attack. Instead, they activated adaptive cloaking and orbital decoys, mapping every Concord vessel in detail. A single AI-guided probe transmitted encrypted warnings back to the fleet. Every maneuver is anticipated. Every tactical response is predicted. Retreat is advised. The Concord ships paused. Confusion rippled through their command chains. No human fleet had been destroyed, yet every move they made was already countered. The result: the Concord withdrew, their credibility shattered. Inside Earth's command hub, Carter addressed his advisors. "We're not conquering the galaxy," he said. "We're teaching it. Every species that fears oppression now sees that unity, intelligence, and adaptation win over tyranny. The Concord is a lesson, not a target." Dr. Hannah Varma added, "Sir, entire systems are voluntarily defecting. They want human guidance, not conquest. Our strategy has reshaped galactic politics." Carter's gaze drifted to Earth below, oceans glinting beneath storms they had endured for millennia. They thought they ruled because they were stronger. But strength without foresight is fragile. Humanity doesn't just survive, we outthink, outplan, and outlast. By the time the Concord realized the scale of their collapse, it was too late. Factionalism spread like wildfire. Secret treaties between council members became public. Entire fleets and armies refused orders. Key sectors declared independence. The galaxy was in political chaos, and in the center of it, humanity remained the stabilizing force. High Observer Kerarthale watched the council chamber one last time. "They outgrew us," he whispered to his aide. "We built walls, we built fleets, we built fear, and they adapted around every obstacle. They did not break like all other species. They evolved faster than the galaxy expected." The aide hesitant asked, "Then, what now?" Kerarthale's faceted eyes gleamed with a mix of fear and awe. "Now," he said slowly, "we follow, or we vanish." Earth did not celebrate conquest. Humanity had no desire to become the Concord. Instead, they extended an offer of alliance, cooperation, and knowledge. Alien species once oppressed now received protection, training, and a chance to participate in galactic governance. Human fleets patrolled borders, not to dominate but to maintain balance. For the first time, a planetary species had achieved galactic influence through intellect, strategy, and restraint. The Concord, once invincible, now existed as a cautionary tale. Their fleets were scattered, their authority questioned, and their political cohesion shattered. And at the heart of it all stood Earth. A blue planet that had survived impossible storms, crushing gravity, and cosmic neglect. A planet whose children had stared at the stars, calculated, adapted, and proven the galaxy wrong. Humanity had not just survived. They had reshaped the destiny of the galaxy itself. The galaxy had changed. Gone were the days when civilizations bowed automatically to the concord of advanced species. Gone were the assumptions that any planetary species was too weak, too primitive, or too disorganized to matter. Now all eyes turned toward Earth. High above the blue planet, human fleets glimmered like constellations. Not all of them were weapons, though many could annihilate worlds. Some were trade vessels, others were research ships, and still others carried diplomats and educators. Humanity's presence was balanced, formidable but purposeful. Inside the orbital command hub, General Elias Carter walked slowly along the observation deck. Beside him, Admiral Mei Lin reviewed reports of alien delegations arriving for talks, treaties, and alliances. "They're hesitant," Mei Lin noted. "Many of them still fear our power. Some fear our judgment." Carter smiled faintly. "Good. Let them fear a species that survived the impossible. Let them respect the one species that learned to adapt faster than any threat." The first ambassadors arrived quietly. The avian clades, the Alari Collective, and even Velker envoys approached Earth cautiously. They had watched humanity for years, seen the resilience, the strategy, the restraint. Many had once thought humans expendable. Now they were partners of a species whose intellect and foresight defined the new rules of galactic politics. High Observer Carathale was among the first alien leaders to arrive in person. He had watched humanity rise from a world dismissed as fragile and insignificant to a species whose reputation had toppled the Concord itself. "You were impossible," Carathale said quietly as he shook Carter's hand, or the closest approximation his alien form allowed. Carter's eyes met his. "No. We were inevitable." Even the Concord's remnants were forced to acknowledge reality. Their fleets and stations had survived, but their political authority had crumbled. They could no longer dictate terms, control trade, or manipulate weaker species. Now they were observers, negotiators, survivors but not rulers. Carter addressed a council of former Concord leaders, now humbled. "The galaxy has learned an important lesson," he said, voice steady, resonant across the chamber. "Dominance built on fear is fragile. Intelligence, unity, and adaptation, those are the traits that endure. Humanity has survived not because we are stronger in the traditional sense, but because we are capable of thinking, predicting, and innovating faster than any threat." A murmur of agreement, and begrudging respect, swept through the room. Humanity's influence spread rapidly but deliberately. Trade routes once controlled by fear became open to all, regulated by Earth-led councils. Conflict zones previously ignored by the Concord were stabilized with technology, strategy, and diplomacy. Scientific knowledge was shared selectively, enough to foster cooperation, but always with the principle that adaptation and intellect trump reliance on ancient hierarchies. Across the stars, former subjects of the Concord began calling the new order the Soul Accord, a network guided by the principles humans had demonstrated: intelligence over brute force, cooperation over oppression, and adaptability above all. Yet, humanity's greatest demonstration was not force, it was restraint. When a small faction of Velker ships attempted to seize an outer system, humans arrived first, not to destroy but to disable weapons and isolate the threat. Not a single life was lost, but the Velker were forced to surrender, their arrogance humbled. On the battlefield, humans were apex predators, but in governance they were guardians. Carter reflected as he watched the new solar fleets glide above Earth. "We could destroy worlds," he said. "We could enforce obedience. But survival and respect are stronger than domination. That's what makes us humans." The galaxy took notice. Species that had once mocked Earth now sent envoys, students, and scholars. The impossible planet had become a center of knowledge, strategy, and hope. Humanity did not simply survive. Humans had reshaped the balance of power across the stars. High Observer Carathale spoke privately to Carter one last time before departing. "You were underestimated by every species, every council, every doctrine," Carathale said. "Yet you prevailed, not through fear but through innovation, strategy, and unity. You are the apex species." Carter nodded. "We didn't set out to be apex. We just set out to survive. But survival on an impossible world changes the way you see the universe." The human fleets glimmered like a protective net around Sol 3. Above Earth, satellites, orbital platforms, and starships moved with precision, an orchestra of intelligence and foresight. And far beyond, in systems once ruled by fear and complacency, species whispered tales of the humans. The species that survived impossible conditions. The species that outsmarted conquerors, tamed wars, and shattered ancient empires. The species that proved the galaxy wrong. The impossible planet had done the impossible. And humanity was not just alive. Humanity was inevitable, supreme, and unforgettable. The galaxy had learned its final lesson. Never underestimate a species born on an impossible world. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was a symbol. It was proof. It was the apex. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter above Sol 3 that night. A planet once written off by the galaxy now stood at its center, an enduring testament to human resilience, intellect, and cunning. And humanity was ready for whatever the universe dared to throw next. The galaxy had underestimated humans. They would never make that mistake again.